Comedy, as with every form of entertainment, is a generational thing. What we appreciate as an adult roots from what we enjoyed while growing up. All of that isn't set in stone, as people are bound to change with time. Growing out of an activity that you once enjoyed is all part of the process we call maturing. Yet, those childhood hobbies which shaped that entire timeline plays a huge role in our grown self. The after effects it has is incredibly apparent, even on the surface level, being controlled by our subconscious as it finds it comfortable. Hence the feeling of nostalgia. Even though you might not enjoy it, that particular thing will always hold a special place in your heart. Fucking nostalgia. That son of a bitch. From old video games that you played at a time when single titles were given the full attention, rather than contemplating about which game to play while buying more games to increase that ever-growing backlog that is common nowadays. Even though some of those older games weren't that amazing, a child-sized brain perceived it as being the peak of humanity. Well, what else were you gonna do anyways? It's either playing that or some stupid school stuff. To binge watching city movies that the cable gods decided to broadcast, because that was the only thing available. It's not like anyone wanted to watch that. It was more of a hostage situation, being forced to watch whatever those ad-addicted channels got the permission to use, which were heavily censored, because kids can't watch some explicit scenes, even if they can witness those in real life. Which, when mixed with how much ads they used in between their 10 to 20-minute segments, basically made them a crime against humanity. Why were they even given the freedom to do shit like that? And why did we accept that as a reality? The lack of option of that manner is why I grew up listening to JB on repeat, as if it was a government propaganda. An entertainment media that is missing here, or at least the ones I care about, is comedy. And the shitty side of that particular source of entertainment is the relatable humor variant, usually associated with millennials, as they are the majority who resonate with that type of humor. Just like how every generation has its own preference as to what type of humor they are attracted by, and have a tough time accepting or appreciating to what other generations likes, giving birth to that useless generational wars. With boomer humor being the punching bag, as most of their jokes are based on unwarranted hate towards minorities and is full of obnoxious noises, unlike what Gen Z likes, which is totally not like that.
What should I say? Just play it cool.
Burgers Binted.
Huh? What the heck?
Huh? What the dog doing?
Burgers Binted.
It's not a video about those type of humors, so let me get back into the topic in question and the utter shithousery that it features. As established from my last video, I'm more inclined to enjoy the dark and grim side of comedy. But that isn't limited to what sort of jokes I like. It doesn't matter what medium of entertainment media it is, I always tend to gravitate towards the gloomy side of things. From what films I appreciate now, to the music I choose to listen to. If it has some sort of value beyond just entertaining the consumer, then I will always admire that over what is wholly there for mindless fun time. Or in this case, something being more than just funny. Something that relatable humor lacks in almost every level. There isn't any sort of introspections in those jokes, which aren't even funny to begin with, and for most part is the laziest out of all the variants of humor. Just Tumblr users getting nostalgia boners about activities that they once did or miss doing now. And there are instances when it's not even that, leaving it to be them circle jerking about things that they do on day-to-day basis. With other variety of humor, there is at least something to take away from that whole experience. With this, there is nothing. It's impressively tame and mind-numbingly bland. It serves absolutely zero purpose other than catering to that specific group of people from a certain timeline, who were fortunate enough to experience those divine activities. It's not a timeless piece of work. Neither is it remarkable to be remembered in the future, but is extremely limited to them and them only. If you can't relate to that, it loses whatever limited charm it has. Nothing of good comes from that humor. And I blame the internet for its popularity, bringing those tasteless people together so they can spread those overseered, done to death memes. Speaking of internet and its impact on various generations, let's move on to the focal point of this video and how it all stemmed from me watching a comedy special last year. On 30th May 2021, around a year ago, Bo Burnham, formerly a YouTuber, released a rare comedy special with no audience to accompany him or a crew to assist him with the process. Inside, all of it being sought by himself over the year. A very unusual one at that, in which most people were stuck inside, well, basically growing beards and bellies, while Bo here made a masterpiece. Ask any of his "I'm not like other girls" fans. They will attest to that. It wouldn't surprise anyone watching that I didn't like it as much as the majority who saw it. I remember hearing good things about it when it came out, from critics and fans alike. Almost every YouTuber was talking about how good it was, souring it with praises. And all of that made me hesitant if or if not I should watch it. In my eyes, it was another hyped up release that the internet tends to go crazy about. And I wasn't proven wrong. The comedy aspect of that special wasn't particularly amusing to me. Most of the material used there wasn't supposed to be entirely funny, but it wasn't something that I enjoyed. The introspection or message that Bo wanted to spread wasn't a concern of mine or aligned with my life. I wasn't in the circle it was targeted towards. It wasn't overly complicated. Still, it did have its moments. But all of that depends on who is watching and if they can relate to it or not. Which, as previously established, I wasn't. I didn't find it funny, as there were better counterparts to watch who were miles better than what Bo had to offer. So let's move on to the other side of that special, the music. Something which he has been indulging himself in for a long time, and I didn't see the appeal of it either. It's not like the songs were objectively bad or a crime against your ears, but the lyrics weren't something that I was interested in. Yes, some of them were kinda silly, but overall, it reminded me of some albums that left me with an unappetizing, sour aftertaste. Was it amongst the best albums from that year? Absolutely not. Just like how there were better options for a funny haha time, there are albums which can easily outdo his. Yes, it doesn't need to overcome those shows or albums to be an entertaining or enlightening piece of work, and one can enjoy it without it being such things. But I didn't. Even though Bo Burnham is one of my favorite young comedians who understands the current generation, I have a tough time liking his newer projects, from movies he directed to the ones he played a role in. Simply put, what he wanted insight to be to other people didn't work on me. I could hardly relate to most of the stuff that the majority did. And what is even relatable humor if you can't relate? Which left it being a privileged, well-off, white person complaining about how social media and how he is perceived by its users damaging to his mental health. Yeah, no shit. Who knew something like that can happen? In my eyes, it was a grown-up man complaining about mundane and minor issues. As someone who doesn't use social media apps, I cannot relate to him complaining about doom scrolling. I couldn't care less about someone struggling creatively while I heard that people were struggling to survive. Well, enough of that negativity, which was the prime reason why I pushed back this video for a year. I don't feel motivated making a video where I'm just a negative Nancy. So let's talk about the aspects that I liked about it. Artistically speaking, it was quite of a feat and was executed in a unique fashion. from boasting amazing cinematography, visuals, and camera work, to how it was all done by a single person, which demands the outcome to be somewhat respected, at least with that context. It is without any doubt a really impressive project. But beyond that, it doesn't incite an intriguing feeling inside me. A piece on the pandemic life, which the future generation would find nostalgic, reminiscing about those days and how they lived through those times, trying to laugh away the pain by relating to each other. And to be honest, I can never blame anyone who does that.